Although you've probably never played Resident Evil Code Veronica, the chances are high that you found yourself begging for or expecting it to be remade. I haven't figured out the reason why Capcom is remaking every game in their back catalog, but Dino Crisis and Resident Evil Code Veronica seem to be the most oft-demanded, which leads me to ask the same question all the critics of my videos ask in the comment section. Have you even played the game? This wouldn't be a simple case of taking an old game, full of outdated mechanics and cheesy acting, and updating it with a third-person over-the-shoulder camera, and more attractive character models people can appropriate for their Rule 34 Patreon content. I speculate people demand a remake because they never owned a Dreamcast, and feel as if they missed out on an important installment, then looked up re-release versions of it and understandably decided that a full remake would be the best option. But here's the thing with that line of thinking. We already know what such a remake would play like, largely the same as the past two remakes, so the only reason to revisit it would be to relive the characters and story. But likable characters or settings in Code Veronica are as elusive as the floaters in your eye. The only way to salvage this mess would be to boil the game down to its core premise, then create a game that is entirely different in terms of tone and character, but follows a similar story arc. And what do you know, Capcom already did that. It was called Resident Evil Revelations 2, unless you want to count the light gun game Darkside Chronicles, which already remade Code Veronica. I'm not kidding. Revelations 2 is Code Veronica and everything but name. You have the same basic premise, Claire Redfield abducted from a high-rise building in Europe and taken to a vague European island where she teams up with an annoying teenager with daddy issues, who share the same fashion and haircut tastes, while fighting a blonde lady who was the result of human experimentation, and then halfway through the game, you take control of a male character who shows up after receiving a message from Claire, and has to clean up the mess while retreading all the maps a second time. The only real difference is choosing whether you're into jailbait Claire or MILF Claire. I suppose you could make a convincing argument that the failed entries in the series are the most deserving of a remake. Lord knows Resident Evil 4 doesn't leave a lot of room for improvement beyond shinier graphics and removal of QuickTime events, and outdated gameplay can certainly be improved in a remake. The tone can often be unsalvageable. Capcom will have an easier time remaking a game with a height-challenged Spanish noble, who kidnapped the president's busty daughter and brought her to a medieval Spanish village, than it will a game where one of the villains is a Norman Bates-inspired crossdresser with a sister fetish inside a completely forgettable island research base. Perhaps you're thinking Code Veronica is a pivotal part of the Resident Evil lore that you've missed out on. As the true sequel to Resident Evil 2, never mind Resident Evil 3 for the moment, Code Veronica was supposed to resolve the unfinished plot thread of that game. The one it forgot about in the first 10 minutes it saw Claire looking for her brother Chris, never heard of a steroid recovery phase Redfield, only to discover that he wasn't there and now she had bigger problems. It seems Claire hasn't made any changes to her plan of randomly searching any location connected to Umbrella, then finding that Chris isn't there a little too late. She gets captured and sent to an island. Why? No idea. Whatever plan they had for her is quickly undone once the island is mysteriously bombed. Within minutes, her jailer is so nihilistic that he opens her cell and tells her to go die somewhere else. This was a needlessly complicated way of getting Claire to an island where the game takes place. The same guy who captured Claire at the Paris office is responsible for being her jailer on the island, and once a bombing happens, he opens Claire's cell because why the hell not? They're doomed, even though he knows there are planes to get everyone off the island. The bombing of the island accidentally releases a T-virus which infects the staff, but the first zombies Claire encounters pop out of the ground in a graveyard. I don't think they were ever infected, so they're just reanimated corpses, which doesn't really fit with Resident Evil zombies who are infected before death. The first thing you'll notice about Code Veronica is that it's intentionally terrible. Resident Evil games fall into one of two categories: two-dimensional backgrounds with tank controls, or fully rendered maps where you can do basic things like look at what you're aiming at. It's primarily the older games with 2D backgrounds that Capcom has been remaking since they benefit the most. But Code Veronica doesn't use 2D backgrounds. It's fully rendered. It just plays like it isn't, using old-fashioned tank controls with fixed camera angles just like the original games. But those weren't choices made because the developers liked them. It was down to the rendering limitations of the hardware, because that's all they could get away with if they wanted character models that looked halfway decent and more than 2 enemies on screen. But this game released on the Sega Dreamcast. There was no reason for tank controls and a fixed camera other than the series being stuck in tradition. Likewise, there is no point of having 3-dimensional levels if you can't control the camera. You can still make a great game even with those limitations, as Capcom would do only once in the Resident Evil 1 remake. But this game is damn near broken in its design. There are several boss fights where you can softlock your progress, enemies constantly assault you from unseen camera angles, or spawn a foot away from you after a cutscene, and nearly every enemy can soak up ammo before going down while the game is constantly stingy with supplies except for worthless crossbow bolts. I spend most of my playthrough limping in a near-death state.
Wait, don't shoot!
Steve's incompetence with guns will be a running theme for him.
Sorry about that little misunderstanding.
Sorry about that.
Canadian detected.
Relax, beautiful. I said I was sorry. My name's Steve. I was a prisoner on this island.
Were you let out of your cell by a hopeless man as well, actually? Since I just walked out of the prison, and Steve was never there, where exactly had they been keeping him?
I heard there's an airport around here. Well, once I find it, I can finally escape from this crazy island. Well, I'll see ya.
Hey, wait up!
I don't want you following me, lady. You'll only slow me down.
The truly terrible thing about this game that I came to realize after playing it is that Claire and Steve's characterization and relationship felt familiar. Their interactions have become something of an archetype for male and female characters in the movies and games we now see. I wonder why they have a high-security metal detector set up for this building that contains nothing except a 3D printer and a computer. You can forget that you left something important inside the metal detector's bin and never see it again, like I did with my combat knife, which due to a glitch is the most devastating weapon you can use.
Chris Redfield.
What are you doing here?
Chris Redfield. Is he a relative of yours or something?
You mean my brother?
Ah, your siblings.
Steve is just typing away at the computer and came across files on Claire and her brother. Total coincidence, I'm sure. Not stalker behavior at all.
I've got to contact Leon and tell him to let my brother know he's being monitored. It's a good thing I have access to an outside connection from here.
I'm sorry, but what? Leon knows where Chris is and can get in touch with him? Then why the hell did you sneak into Umbrella's Paris facility looking for Chris when you could have just emailed Leon about the matter? Furthermore, what's Leon's excuse? He knew that Claire was looking for her missing brother, but never told her that he was in touch with Chris?
Well, that file shows the latitude and longitude of this place. Why don't you send your brother the coordinates and ask him to come help?
Thanks, I'll do that.
She actually does that.
He won't come. You'll just end up disappointed if you rely on others. Believe me, I know.
That was some big stay out of my room, dad energy. I suppose with fixed camera angles, you're kinda stuck using the same dog or hunter jumping through a window jump scare. You do one thing people weren't ready for in the 90s and you had to keep doing it into the 2000s. I'm used to horror games requiring a degree in clown logic for their puzzle design, but Code Veronica includes so many steps to get anywhere that I more than once forgot what door I was even trying to get past, that I resorted to trying every locked door with the world's most ridiculous janitor's keyring of themed keys, emblems, and keycards. Can we all agree that the most disappointing feeling in any Resident Evil game is when you find the crossbow? Because you know that shit is going to be so weak you'll stick it in the item box along with the ammo for the entire game. It has rapid fire and doesn't even require reloading despite the nature of a crossbow. And it still sucks. But unless you want to softlock yourself at boss fights, you have to use it. The only way to make it useful is with rare exploding arrowheads. That scientist was apparently in a silent struggle for his life just below the window until Claire peered inside. Playing that film caused a giant display case to move, revealing a secret room. I guess the Ashfords didn't mind if anyone found their secret gun storage, as long as they appreciated their cinematography first. There are guns all over this room, and Claire will take none of them except for the stupid-looking golden Lugers. Take gun off wall, set off trap. They've rinsed and repeated that for over 20 years now, and it's never once made any sense. Why would you booby trap and keep yourself from using your own gun? And why would it deactivate if you put it back?
Yeah! Help me!
Steve just got caught in the same gunroom trap Claire found herself in a minute ago. Instead of yelling to Steve to put the damn pistols back, Claire has to figure out a stupid matching image puzzle on a console to turn off the gas.
Looks cool, huh?
Oh, I need those. Give them to me.
The only reason Claire is set on getting those golden Lugers is because she found a door with Luger-shaped indentations back in a safe room. She has no idea if there's anything useful behind it.
You gotta be kidding. I found it and I'm keeping it.
There isn't even any ammo in the damn Lugers. When I picked them up earlier, they read 0% ammo. Ammo percentage is a weird mechanic this game introduces for certain weapons that you don't get to reload.
Let's make a deal. I'll trade you for something fully automatic.
Steve just pointed a gun in Claire's face while offering a deal. Whatever spectrum Steve is operating on, he doesn't need loaded automatic weapons. He already looks and acts like a school shooter. Is there any point to having a laser sight on a scoped hunting rifle? And the laser comes out of the scope no less.
You don't fool me! I am Alfred Ashford, commander of this base.
I like to think Alfred's character was inspired by one of those hospital nursing training dummies with an animated face that constantly begs for death. He's about as likable, and after a while you just want to press and hold on his face with a wet pillow.
Oh? You must be one of Umbrella's lower level officers if you're in command of a backwater base like this one.
How dare you!
Nice animation.
Who do you work for? Who sent you?
Alfred has not racked a new round into the chamber even once with that bolt-action rifle of his.
Have it your way, then. You're just a rat in a cage anyway. I'll be sure to keep you entertained before I dispose of you.
To me, Alfred seems like one of those anime villains that is the unfortunate result of bad understanding of a very gay man by Japanese writers, and then even poor English localization of him. He channels so much of Maximilian Pegasus from Yu-Gi-Oh! In order to get down to an underwater lab under this dock, you have to spin an old ship's tiller wheel that somehow brings a submersible to the surface. I guess building an elevator was too drab. Just as in the Resident Evil 3 remake, you can expect this giant worm to be cut from any possible remake of Code Veronica. Claire must have actually felt that laser, because I don't see how she could have known that Alfred had her in her sights.
Welcome, Claire. Please try and keep me amused, and do not disappoint me by dying too soon. I so want to enjoy this.
Someone wrote these lines, someone else acted them out, and then someone added them to the game. No one in that chain of people ever raised an issue with this sounding stupid. Once again, there was no ammo in those Lugers. You might be attempting to excuse this scene by thinking it's on the nose, but nothing is self-aware in this game. They honestly want you to think of Steve as a badass.
Take these.
Machine guns?
Are you imagining Steve doing drive-bys? I only count one magazine for the 2 Uzis Claire traded Steve.
Now that your knight has made his appearance, he can join you in your descent into death.
Alfred is that D&D dungeon master who really wants to impress the party with his in-character acting, but he's just too gay. Let me just cock these guns while pointing them in your general direction.
Time to test out my new toy!
You get to control the world's most annoying Canadian for about 2 minutes as he uses Uzis to clear a path for Claire.
Steve, what were you doing here? Who brought you here, and where is your family?
Shut up! I don't want to talk about it!
Steve is beginning to trip some serious school shooter flags. Sorry if this sin is low effort, but LOL.
What's wrong, Steve? Shoot him!
Wait! I can't! No!
At least the bad acting in Resident Evil 1 went on to become some pretty good memes we all fondly recall. Code Veronica only has moments like this. I'm certain unloading 2 Uzis into Steve's zombie father on top of Claire would result in shooting the both of them.
I used to work for Umbrella. Tried to steal information, intending to sell it off to the highest bidder. He was caught. Mom was killed. And we were sent here.
That's really all there is of Steve's backstory, and now that he's killed his zombie father, the healing can begin, because he never mentions his dad again. To get through this door you need the blue hawk crest, and inserting it also caused the guillotine behind you to drop. The guillotine has nothing to do with the door opening. They just set it up that way. What is this system?
Greetings. You must be the lovely Claire Redfield.
Who are you?
Let's just say that I'm a ghost, coming back to haunt your dear brother.
Wesker?
The only positive thing I have to say about this game is that it set the stage for Resident Evil 5's Albert Wesker, a character who somehow contained nearly every single generic villain stereotype imaginable, to the point where he circled back around to being entertaining again. Code Veronica's Wesker doesn't quite reach that, but I can think of it as a first draft that moves him past the generic and truly boring character he was in Resident Evil 1. That, and he shares the stage with Alfred and Alexei in this game. Who else are you going to root for?
All the better for me. Now that the cat dragged in this nice surprise, your ever so caring brother will definitely show up.
That's a big assumption given that Claire had no idea where Chris was this entire time.
What? What is it? Stay there. I'm coming. It appears you may be of some further use to me. I'm going to let you live a little longer.
Wesker is about to kill Claire when suddenly he gets a call from someone else on the island about something important that he has to rush off and address. Whatever was so important is never explained, because Wesker doesn't do much of anything on the island except confront the Redfields when they show up. Just to access this one room and everything that lies beyond it, you had to first watch a creepy incest film of 2 twin siblings, enter the secret room to retrieve the golden Lugers and activate the gas trap, while hoping someone on the outside will rescue you, just so you can use the golden Lugers to get inside your office. Once in the office, starting the computer plays the same movie of the twins again, before having you enter a password that's written down somewhere in the office. A password that when entered doesn't give you access to the computer, but activates a diorama of the twins again, which then moves aside to reveal another secret passage that leads to the Ashford mansion. Why build a gas room trap and then also build a mechanism to stop it inside the room? It's like making a rope snare and then dangling a pair of scissors from the same branch.
My apologies, Alexia, but I have been doing my best.
The revival of the Ashford family depends on your success, brother.
I am aware of that, Alexia.
Inside the mansion, Claire listens in on Alexia speaking to Alfred. The twist is that Alexia isn't actually here. Alfred is pretending to be his sister. The problem is that when Alfred is supposedly speaking, we don't see Alexia's lips move.
Who is there? Is someone at the corridor?
Why would you have a bedroom window that allows someone in the corridor to look inside? Windows are generally for outside viewing. I used to think excessively wealthy people would never spend their money on stupid and borderline dangerous products that can't be understood. Then Elon Musk attempted to buy Twitter and I had to reevaluate my beliefs. But I don't believe even he would sleep on a bed that has a hydraulic press attached to it. If there is a piano in a horror game, it must be used for some type of puzzle. The skeleton painting you need to complete the art gallery puzzle is located inside a cleanroom laboratory of all places, which is a location you're very unlikely to place an oil painting, and they deface the art by writing the door code on it. Above their bedroom is a carousel that can only do a 180-degree spin to change the position of a ladder. Did Capcom hire former Myst developers to design the puzzles in this game? Out of all the Resident Evils I played, this one uses the most moon logic.
I am Alexia Ashford. For the pride of the Ashford family, I will kill you.
I'm positive that bullet should have hit Claire.
Steve! A secret door!
As much as I would love to take this opportunity to rag on Steve some more, I'm more concerned with the fact that Alfred and Alexia had a stepbro hole between their rooms. Alfred has a rifle and they drop on them, but decides to jump and hit them with it instead.
What? No!
This game may have been made before the meme ever existed, but damn did it capture the pure essence of an autistic Ree.
So there never was an Alexia after all.
You mean he thinks he's two people?
Yes, he's a lame Norman Bates ripoff, something that would be treated as cautiously as handling nuclear fuel in a remake.
The self-destruct system has
That
been
freak! He's trying to blow us up along with the entire facility.
I don't think there's a single Umbrella facility that wasn't built with a self-destruct feature.
Those must be the remaining survivors.
Did they have to collect 3 separate military proofs to gain access to a plane? Because Claire did. Steve apparently just knows how to fly an airplane like this. Anyone buying that?
We can't take off unless we raise the bridge.
Leave that to me.
Good thing the missing lever to the bridge controls was just lying here in the cockpit for no reason then.
I will not allow you fools to escape. This is what you get for trying to oppose me. Now feel my revenge.
You already activated the self-destruct to stop them. Is releasing a tyrant really plan B? You could have done that first. Don't look at each other like that. You have negative chemistry. It feels grosser than Alfred worshipping his sister.
Well, I really hope you find your brother.
Oh yeah, you sent the coordinates of this island to Leon to pass on to Chris. You at all concerned about sending your brother into a possible death trap now? Maybe use the plane's radio to contact someone. Just kidding, they never even think of using the plane's radio.
Hey! What the? The cargo room hatch is open.
Despite not having any hands, the tyrant was able to grab onto the plane as it left and open a cargo hatch. For a lot of people, this was the end of the game for them, because if you didn't save enough ammo for this fight, it's almost impossible to kill the tyrant. I struggled for an hour and only barely managed to clear it.
My apologies, but I cannot let you escape now.
Alfred! You cross-dressing freak!
This message brought to you by the year 2000. Alfred could just have the autopilot crash them into the ocean. Instead, he has it fly them to Umbrella's Antarctica base. For someone who wants to protect his sister at all costs, I think bringing the 2 people who have given you this much trouble directly to her is a strange plan. Why does he care about them so much? Let him leave. Bruh, she's asleep. She's asleep, bruh. Not cool. Bruh, she's asleep. Is this how the autopilot is supposed to land the plane? Both of them survive a plane crash while not even buckled in that sees the plane going through a building. Ugh, gross. There's a good reason why you've only ever heard of the meme about Chris wanting Leon to nail his sister. Something I never figured out is why the Antarctica base is also overrun with zombies. The training complex on the island was bombed by Wesker, and the T-virus stored there escaped. But nothing like that happened here. This is where the other planes that escaped the island flew to, so the only conclusion I can reach is that the planes were full of zombies that then disembarked from the plane and overran the base. But I can't think of any reason why Alfred would want to do that. Beneath the facility, Claire finds a creature restrained by straps and strangely a giant axe. I can understand the straps, but why a battle axe of all things? And who perfectly swung it into a wall to pin it there? Who thinks to themselves, yeah, I turned my dad into a monster, so let me strap him to a wall and, oh yeah, giant axe, that's what we need.
It looks like there's an Australian observation base about 7 miles away from here. That should be our target.
Great news. And take a look at that. It's a digging vehicle. If we break the wall with it, we might have a chance.
So your plan is to dig through the ice wall with that vehicle to escape the base and head to this Australian research station 7 miles away. Couldn't you just return to where the plane crashed through the wall and escape that way? You two hopped out of the cockpit and into this place without even checking the rear of the plane, which has an exit.
Steve, watch out!
Instead of paying attention to the heavy machineries operating that is their only means of escape, Steve checks out Claire and crashes the drill into a pipe that vents toxic gas into the room, delaying their escape until they can vent it.
Listen to me. We'll escape from here. Together.
The only reason to bring Steve with you after that is to eat him if you run out of food before reaching salvation. This is going to be a very petty sin, but Claire has to use a CNC machine to reshape a socket to fit a valve that shuts off the gas. Yet she takes no measurements in order to know the specifications to cut the square into an octagon. You've shut off the toxic gas from pumping into the room, but that doesn't mean the gas already filling it is gone. Taking out the gas mask should be fatal. This is the second time Steve has unloaded those Uzis into Alfred. The guy just won't die. And no, I'm not talking about Alfred. I'm talking about Steve. That axe did nothing to keep it there, meaning it could have escaped at any time it wanted. Steve just knows how to operate a tunneling drill. Is anyone buying that either? This is Antarctica. They should both freeze to death with what they're dressed in. They don't even complain about the cold. What kind of helipad is elevated this high off the ground that falling from it will kill you? Nosferatu, the monster that was locked up, who's also Alfred and Alexia's father, faces Claire down on the helipad after knocking Steve off it. And this is another fight where you can softlock yourself if you don't bring enough ammo. They do give you a sniper rifle for this, but it has little ammo and it's unwieldy to use since it can only be aimed through the scope. What should be more accurate aiming is actually worse than shooting blind around camera angles, and Nosferatu can and will knock you out of aiming mode with poison gas.
I swear I'll protect you next time, Claire.
What are you? Her OnlyFans sub?
Alexia!
This is the best moment of Alfred's life. Happy for him. Alexia has no idea what's going on or anything about Claire and Steve, but she still stops Claire and Steve from leaving even though she has no reason to care about them. That is a disturbing lack of ass on Alexia. Flatter than a Minecraft avatar. How is she getting a camera feed of the destroyed snowmobile? They were nowhere near the base when she attacked. Meanwhile, Chris Redfield arrives at the Umbrella Island training facility that I recall being destroyed by a self-destruct system, yet all of it is still here. I think there is one room that's on fire and that's it. Chris finds Claire's jailer in some weird underground area as well as a giant worm that won't make it in any future remake. Umbrella was using some ancient stone relic to hold 2 submachine guns. Were those really that important?
Who is that?
King was loved, but the queen was feared.
Alexia was doing a live stream to an empty room until Chris showed up.
Chris, oh little fishy, come see my hook.
Yes, Chris has fallen right into your trap, a trap that you never actually planned on and had no hand in preparing. It's not a trap like previous mounted shotguns in Resident Evil, but for some reason Umbrella built this drawbridge in the sewer to raise or lower depending on if the shotgun is mounted on the wall.
What are you doing here?
I came for Alexia.
Who?
An organization hired me to capture her.
Then you came to the wrong place. She's in Antarctica. Why did Wesker even attack this island?
You have no idea how much I hate you. You destroyed my plans.
Did he really? I thought Wesker's plan was to capture live combat data on the BOWs as they fought the STARS members. The fact that 4 of them survived shouldn't really matter since it proved the BOWs weren't as good as you thought they were. And, well, the Tyrant did rip you in half. Not Chris.
I figured out that your sister is now in the Antarctic with Alexia. It's too bad you won't be seeing her again.
They are really struggling to introduce Chris to the plot and get him caught up with everything.
Alexia?
That's 2 Redfields Wesker has gotten too distracted to kill when given the opportunity. Chris just knows how to fly a Harrier jet. The guy is only a police officer, you know. Wesker may have told Chris that Claire was in Antarctica, but he didn't specify where. Antarctica is a big place, yet Chris found the Umbrella base no problem. Shouldn't all the corpses be frozen solid, so even if the bodies were infected, they shouldn't be able to move? We are in Antarctica after all. Alexia destroyed the snowmobile, then dragged Claire and Steve back to the research station, sliming Claire against the wall, fulfilling someone's kink, and injecting Steve with the T. Veronica virus, filling what I'm sure is someone's very obscure kink. I'm not sure why she didn't just kill them. She certainly didn't know Chris was on the way until after she had captured the 2 of them. But you do you, girl boss.
I missed you so much.
I know. But we have to get out of here.
Not yet. We have to find Steve.
Who's Steve?
He's a boy who escaped from that island with me.
This is the exact moment when Chris realized he needed to start filtering Claire's future boyfriends. Remember that crank wheel Claire had to CNC mill? Chris finds an adapter to use a hexagon-shaped socket with square valves. They had this adapter hidden behind a lion bust with removable crystal eyes per usual. But the dumber thing is that they had a part that would only be usable once someone shaved off the edges of the original square pin into a hexagon.
That is how I dispose of insignificant bugs, said the spider to the fly. How do you wish to die?
Can we go back to Alfred? He was actually a well-written and balanced villain compared to Alexia.
It is almost time, you genetically inferior siblings.
It's at this point you realize that this entire stupid plot with the Ashford twins is supposed to be a parallel to Chris and Claire. The villains are siblings, one of which who cared deeply for the other who they hadn't seen in years, as do our protagonists. That's the only reason for this. They thought they needed a bit of poetry.
No!
Just go. I'll be fine.
But Chris,
You've got to save Steve.
Do we really? Steve wouldn't even be a popular character in a Yu-Gi-Oh dub. Yes, that's the second time I included a Yu-Gi-Oh joke in this video. And no, it has nothing to do with the creator recently dying. It's simply that's what came to my mind. There's another shotgun mount here that opens a hidden cache of grenades. The logic on display here is that you had to put your shotgun away to rearm your grenade launcher. Inside this antique cannon is a crystal ball that contains a keycard. I don't have an answer for why that exists, or for why after rolling the ball out of the barrel, a giant stone slab begins dropping repeatedly from the ceiling next to the cannon. The goal here is to place the crystal ball into the slab so it can be broken, and not be crushed yourself in the attempt. As you can imagine, with tank controls this was pure bullshit, and took multiple tries because none of this is in accordance with God's will. Alexia restrains Steve in the same place as Nosferatu. Even the giant axe is back in the wall. It does about as good a job holding Steve as it did him. Steve ensures everyone's hatred of him one final time by being the second most bullshit part in the game. His axe hits like a truck. At full health, 2 hits and you're dead, and essentially gets a free hit right at the start because Claire is too slow to turn around. I died again and again here because he also catches up with Claire easily. I only managed to get past this part due to luck when he missed a few swings.
I love you, Claire.
And Claire will remember him for all time. Just joking. She didn't even mention him when going through the exact same scenario in Revelations 2.
You're responsible for the creation of the T. Veronica virus. And now the only existing sample is in your body. I want it. Now!
You want it? You are not worthy of its power!
I honestly couldn't tell you what's so unique or special about the T. Veronica virus. It creates monsters just like all the other versions do. Alexia plans to release it, and this is somehow supposed to allow her to control the world. I'm pretty sure it would just kill or transform everyone. It took 15 years of hibernation for her body to adapt to the virus. Other people who were infected turned into monsters like Steve or Alexia's father. I get the feeling Capcom was more than a little inspired by Parasite Eve. Wesker and Alexia have a throwdown, and then he chickens out because of a little fire and leaves it to Chris. This is the same man who can wade through lava and not die.
there should be a self-destruct system somewhere. If you activate it, all the electronic locks might be deactivated.
Another one? Can Umbrella build a doghouse without adding a self-destruct?
I'll keep her busy. Just go for the emergency elevator.
Chris, but
I can take care of this. Just go.
Why not find Alexia together? Claire is just as capable as Chris. Isn't the theme of this game how strong the bond between Chris and Claire is? The linear launcher, the special weapon you get for the final fight, can only be aimed in first person, like the rifle from earlier, and has all the same issues. And if that weren't bad enough, you have to land the shots on an erratic flying enemy, and Alexia's projectile attacks knock you out of aiming.
Today's a good day. I came for Alexia, but killing you is even better.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Sorry to disappoint you. Sorry to disappoint you.
Chris is also Canadian in this game.
That's no longer a concern to me. I have Steve to work with.
what?
Steve.
In his body, there's still a living T. Alexia virus. Steve should be a good specimen.
Wesker taking Steve's body for the T. Veronica virus inside of it never comes into play again. We're in the right timeline after all, boys.
Maybe he'll come back alive just as I did, and be able to see your sister again.
This game was so bad that they thankfully never acted on that threat. There's no volcano here, so Wesker and Chris's fight ends in a draw, with Wesker being afraid of fire again. This is a man that in the future will battle Chris and Shiva in a volcano.
Please promise that you won't leave me alone again.
I'm sorry, Claire, but it's not over yet. There's still something we've got to do.
You mean...
Yeah! It's payback time. We've got to destroy Umbrella. Now, let's finish this once and for all.
No, it's time to go to Europe and rescue the president's daughter from a parasite-worshipping cult. You get to be in the terrible follow-up to that game.
Sorry about that. Sorry to disappoint you.